back to Girl Bones. It is Wednesday, the 11th of February, so it might be Thursday by the time I get this up. But anyway, this is the day that I'm speaking to you from. This is the world that I'm speaking to you from, the 11th of February. But anyway, how is everyone doing? How are we settling into 2026? Even though it's been 6 weeks now of 2026, I'm still feeling it's 2024. I don't even think I've fully landed in 2025 yet, let alone 2026. So whatever, I'm in 2024, I feel, and that's okay. I might just stay there for a little while. But anyway, how is everyone doing? How are we finding this year? If you've been in Ireland, if anyone here is from Ireland, I think most of my listeners are from Ireland, but a lot of American and English people, and from everywhere also. But I think most people who listen are Irish, so you know that it's just been flooding. It has not stopped raining for weeks, and it has been quite horrific and not fun, not nice, bad weather. I've had to cancel 2 yoga classes that I was teaching because the weather was so bad and there was weather warnings, and I live kind of in the countryside and the roads are so bad when it's flooding that a lot of the time, if there's like weather warnings, you cannot leave. I'll insert a photo of what one of the roads looks like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's like, that's the road I need to drive to get to teach the class, and it's like, you can't go. You literally can't go. It's but I love teaching yoga so much, and I really hate missing classes, so I'm glad that tomorrow, Thursday, I'll be able to get back and teach a class, because I don't think there's any weather warnings tomorrow, so hopefully. Anyway, let's stop talking about the weather. It's such an Irish thing to talk about, just the weather. But I have made a video on my other channel. So this is my podcast channel where I'm just yapping, we're having the chats, we're answering questions. It's not scripted, it's not like planned or whatever. But if you are interested in more commentary, deep dive videos, I'll leave my other channel linked below, my main YouTube channel. And I just made a video on men in the spirituality space and men who reinforce patriarchy within spiritual practices, patriarchal spirituality, and that kind of thing. So I spoke about Jay Shetty, who is the least offensive in my opinion. He's not that bad. He's not great either. Like, he's not anti-patriarchy or anti-systems of oppression in any way, shape or form. And then I spoke about Aubrey Marcus, who's in my opinion a very patriarchal man, and he definitely reinforces patriarchy within his spiritual practice, within his relationships. And I did a deep dive on him. Obviously I spoke about Deepak Chopra and his work being absolute nonsense, but not only is his work absolute nonsense, he's also in the Epstein files, and he was hanging out with a known child trafficker, predator, whatever. And and the emails, I went through some of the emails in that were released or whatever that he was involved in, and how disgusting he is. We spoke about his response. And did I talk about anyone else? I think I was supposed to talk about Bikram as well, but then I think I ran out of steam, and I was like, this is enough. I might make a part 2, because there's just too many of these men that abuse positions of power and reinforce patriarchy within their spiritual practice. Women do it too, also, by the way. Just because a woman is in a spiritual space or a spiritual practice doesn't mean that she's an angel by any stretch of the imagination. Just because a man is in a spiritual space doesn't mean that he's going to hurt you. But there's too many of them. There is too many of them to ignore. So if you're interested in talking about that, I will leave that video linked below. The question that I'm going to answer today kind of relates to that topic, not fully, but kind of relates to that topic. When I was talking about the Jay Shetty is not, he hasn't ever been accused of anything. There's no abuse allegations. He has a really wholesome, lovely relationship with his wife, if we are to believe what is being portrayed on social media. That's all we have to go on. So I believe it, whatever. They're happy. Okay, he's nice to his wife. Great. The reason I put Jay Shetty in that video was because he won't name any systems of oppression. He won't name any racism, patriarchy, sexism, misogyny, genocide, colonization. Like, he will not name anything. He won't name anything. He won't call out anyone or actually name the thing. He is just vague and flat and like Mel Robbins kind of, do you know what I mean? Just like buzzword Pinterest quote type healing type spirituality, which I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And I'm not here like holier than thou, like everyone should listen to me, like I know everything. I don't at all. But I do think most people get to the point of maybe Jay Shetty, Mel Robbins, these types of people being like an entry point to spirituality or healing or whatever. And then, in my opinion, like we should progress past that. These people are very focused on themselves. Like the healing is focused just on you. The healing is focused just on your, how you feel, your peace, your mind. And it stays there. And in my opinion, spirituality and healing and all of these things, whatever, therapy even, it should be, spirituality in my opinion is connection based. Spirituality is a connection to ourselves, a connection to our body, a connection to our mind, a connection to our energy, a connection to our past selves, a connection to our shadows, a connection to our highest self, our future self, whatever you want to call it. But it's also a connection to the world, the whole world, including other people. And I think a lot of spirituality and healing practices only focus on the self. Well, I need to feel good. I need to feel like amazing. I'm focusing on myself. I'm protecting my peace. I'm me, and whatever. And it doesn't ever expand beyond that. And I think in a well-rounded or a balanced spiritual practice or healing practice, there would be a balance between I'm focusing on myself, I'm focusing on something else. I'm minding myself, I'm paying attention to this. I'm healing myself, or I'm caring for myself, or I'm soothing myself, and then I'm going back out to help someone else. Do you know what I mean? It's like this constant flow of minding myself, minding someone else, minding myself, thinking about something else that's not me, minding myself, raising money for Palestine, minding myself, supporting people who are protesting ICE, whatever, minding myself, blah, blah, whatever, name the thing, whatever your cause is, whatever the issue is that you believe deserves attention, or do you know what I mean? Not it doesn't have to be like a big charity or a big issue or like a crisis, a global crisis, but just anything. Minding myself, minding my friend, minding myself, helping my sister, minding myself, having a deep, horrible, awkward, complicated conversation with someone, minding myself, being held accountable, like minding myself, whatever, you know what I mean? This constant like feeding back and forth. And I believe too many people are focused on themselves and will stay there, and they don't want to upset themselves or dysregulate themselves by caring about anything else, or by letting themselves get angry, or by letting themselves be inconvenienced by discomfort in any way, shape or form, because they're so focused on themselves that I need to protect my peace. Anything that disrupts my peace is not worth my time. So of course you're not going to care about global tragedies and global whatever, multiple crises. Of course you're not going to be able to watch videos of what's happening to the Palestinians. Of course you're not going to care about what ICE is doing, because it's uncomfortable to see that. It's uncomfortable to witness that. It's uncomfortable to look that in the eyes and come to terms with the reality of that. But in my opinion, spirituality that only focuses on ourselves, that does not ever expand to anyone else, is pointless, in my opinion. Allegedly, this is just what I believe. Other people can completely disagree with me. There's people out there who will say things like, we're all responsible for ourselves, and if everyone on earth was doing the work, and if everyone on earth was minding themselves and healing themselves, then we wouldn't need to look out for each other. We wouldn't need to, because everyone would be responsible. But they're not taking into account, this is where they're falling short. They're not taking into account social economic realities. You know what I mean? Do people in Palestine have the capacity to work on themselves, or are they trying to figure out where their food is coming from? Do people who are getting kidnapped by ICE, do they have the capacity to elevate their consciousness, or are they just worrying if they're ever going to see their families again? Do you see what I mean? When those realities are taken completely out of it, those realities are not accounted for, and you're just giving flat, fake not even fake, just flat, empty, shallow, surface level spiritual advice that has no nuance, that has no naming of any of the things that could be getting in the way. So for example, for years I was taking spiritual advice from men who were not taking into accountability the reality of being a woman, and how a lot of the advice would not work on a woman who was deeply traumatized because of men, deeply traumatized because of the reality of living as a woman in a woman's body in a patriarchal world, and the damage that had caused me. And all of these men were just giving this flat advice that was not working for me. And I was being told constantly to transcend beyond my body, to transcend beyond my victimhood, and elevate and ascend and little bleh, instead of just being like, you know what, that makes fucking perfect sense. This is why I've moved so into the world of somatics. I've moved away from most spiritual practices, to be honest, and I'm just so firmly in the last 5 years I've just been firmly landed in somatics, because somatics just feels really safe for me. It feels really validating. It feels really if you're a traumatized baby, like please look into somatics. I'm going to get my website up and running again, and I've just decided over the last few weeks that I need to get my website up and running again, and I want to run like a group somatic program that will be like quite cheap, affordable, everyone can join, and we can go through some somatics together for anyone who's interested. So let me know if you're interested, and then I will get my website back up and running, and we can get a little group going, a crybaby somatic group perhaps. But anyway, what am I even talking about? The fact that a lot of the advice that I was forcing myself to absorb. I was forcing myself to live by this flat, generic, shallow, Pinterest quotey type healing advice that worked very, very well for a lot of the men in the group, that didn't work very well for the women who had been traumatized. And I was always left feeling like I'm just really bad at this. I'm just really bad at this because it's not working for me, and I'm hitting all these blocks, and I'm feeling like this, and I'm still really hypervigilant, and I'm still like bracing, and I'm still waiting for something bad to happen. I'm still in a functional freeze. I'm still frozen. I'm still really hurting, and I'm still spiraling and looping and repeating the same patterns, because the advice that they were giving me was A, not trauma informed, B, it was just terrible advice, full stop, and C, it didn't work for a traumatized body. It worked really well for a male body in a patriarchal world, where patriarchy was being reinforced within that space, within the same healing space, and it just didn't work. And maybe one day I'll get more into like my journey, my like healing journey, and everywhere I've been, and all the people I've encountered, and all the terrible men, and all the terrible advice that was force fed down our throats. But anyway, I'm really glad to have found somatics, and I'm really glad to have found something that actually really works for me, and I am really glad to have actually finally like taken huge steps forward in healing and recovery and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, the question that I wanted to answer today was from a listener. So if you want me to answer your question, email me girlbonespodcast@gmail.com, and I will get your submission. Some of the questions are really long. This one is quite long. And I wanted to also do a part where, an episode where I answer your questions really quickly, because I know I talk so much, and I should probably like simmer it down a little bit, but I can't help it. I'm such a yapper. I have fatal yapping disease, but it's terminal, cannot be cured. But I did want to do like quick fire round where I could only answer each question in like 2 or 3 minutes, and that way I could get through like more questions, but not today. That day is not today. So the question that I have here is, I feel like my capacity for life has shrunk. I'm constantly overwhelmed by basic things, work, messages, just general life stuff. And when I'm not overwhelmed, I feel shut down and numb. I scroll a lot, I avoid everyone, and then I feel guilty for wasting time. Everything feels like too much and not enough at the same time. I also feel torn because I deeply care about what's happening in the world, but I don't seem to have the emotional bandwidth to stay informed without completely burning out. So I swing between obsessively consuming news and then avoiding everything because I can't cope. My friendships are starting to feel affected too. I cancel on everyone, I take ages to reply, and I don't feel as present or as joyful as I used to. I miss being someone who had energy for fun, connection, and creativity. Now it just feels like I'm surviving the week. I want to care about myself properly and also stay engaged with the world and all the people I love, but I don't seem to have the capacity for it all. How do you expand your window of tolerance when you feel stuck between overwhelm and shutdown all the time? So this person knows the language. This person has done work. I can tell that for sure. The language of, I feel like my capacity has shrunk, my energetic bandwidth, emotional bandwidth, how do you expand your window of tolerance? This is all like somatic therapy language. So this person knows you know more than you know more than you think you do. That's just what I'm trying to say. But again, there's a difference between like learning about all this stuff and reading about all this stuff and listening to the podcasts and then actually like applying it, which is where it gets kind of tricky when we're trying to like actually take it out of our brains, take it out of our podcasts, take it out of our books, take it out of the Instagram reels that we save, and then like actually try and apply it in our lives. That's where it gets a little bit icky, a little bit tricky. But I just wanted to say the first thing immediately, I'm impressed by your self-awareness. I am absolutely impressed by the language that you're using and how amazing it is that you can identify all these problems and go into so much detail about everything. So I just wanted to give you roses for you. So the first thing I wanted to say was, I think a lot of people are feeling like this. There's so much going on in the world and there's so much stress. There's so much news constantly, so much really overwhelming stuff going on that a lot of people really do care about it. Now, I have seen a lot of spiritual people completely bypass everything. The love and light warriors, which is like, you know, do your thing, whatever, but will never be me. I'm not trying to say, again, I'm not trying to say I'm better than them in any way, but it's not my flavor of spirituality. I just think it's so bypassy. And I think anyone with any sort of spiritual integrity would be heartbroken and not afraid to let themselves be heartbroken right now. I think anyone with any sort of true spiritual integrity is completely fine being devastated right now and does not think that it is low vibrational in any way, shape or form to be heartbroken by the state of the world and by everything that we're witnessing. I don't think being heartbroken and devastated at heartbreaking and devastating things means that you are not spiritually intact or that you are spiritually disabled in any way, shape or form, because you're letting yourself actually face the reality head on and let yourself feel what you're supposed to feel, you know? It's heartbreaking. The things that are going on are heartbreaking. But the people that are avoiding it, not because they're overwhelmed, not because they're stressed out, not because they don't have the capacity, not because they're in a functional freeze, but the people that are avoiding it because they would rather focus on themselves or that they would rather focus on love and light or whatever. I have an issue with those people. I don't have an issue with you, the person who wrote this in, someone who is overwhelmed, someone who does genuinely care, someone who like really wants to expand their capacity but just doesn't know how. This also, I want to say, everything that's going on in the world and how the leaders of this world are putting out all this information constantly, trying to overwhelm us and trying to get us to shut down and trying to get us to freeze and trying to get us to feel completely hopeless and helpless. That's what they're trying to do. And it works. The reason that they're doing that is because it works. Okay? So the way that you're feeling right now makes perfect sense, because that's what it's supposed to do. That's the way they know that's how our bodies will react, because they know. And that's how that's how our bodies are reacting, because our bodies also know. Our bodies are very clever. So I just wanted to, I have loads of notes here, so just bear with me while I figure out my notes. The first thing that I would say before we try and think about anything, before we try and think about increasing our capacity or expanding our capacity or increasing our window of tolerance to like let more things in, the first thing I would say is to stabilize and orient yourself to where you are right now. So orient yourself and create a little bit of safety slowly but surely where you are now. So for example, when we're feeling overwhelmed and we're shutting down and we're numb and we're avoiding everything, Think about yourself being in bed and like covered with a big blankie, big duvet wrapped up. We're underneath the blankie. This is our safe zone. But when it isn't a soft, squishy safe zone though. It's like we're under the blankets and we're like bracing. We're really tense. We're too scared to peek out under. It isn't like we're soft and we're relaxed and we're enjoying our blankie time. It's rigid, it's stiff, it's bracy. Does that make sense? When we're in freeze, when we're in overwhelm, when we're in shutdown, when we're in avoidy mode, it isn't like, I'm under the blankie, I'm so warm and cozy. It's like, do not force me to come out. Lock me in this blanket, pour cement over me, and we're like locked in, shivering, bracing, really stiff, really tense. Does that make sense? So what we want to try and do is, while we're under this blankie, while we're locked in, while we got the head under the covers, under the duvet, what we want to do is, in that reality, that's our current reality now. That's our current life. That's our current capacity. What we want to do is build stability and safety here. In under the blankie, under the duvet, we want to try and build safety here so that we can soften under the blankie. So we can soften with our head under the covers. Because I bet that the way that you're feeling now isn't soft. It's not safe. It isn't even like it's you're bracing, I would imagine. I'm not 100% sure. What we want to do is make sure that we are soft and cozy and safe under the blankie. We want to build our safety within our current reality without trying to force ourselves to add in things or to care about more things or to do more or to be more disciplined or to be more social or to text 10 people a day. But before we even think about any of that, we want to orient to and stabilize in our current reality under the blankie. We want to make sure that we can actually soften here and that we can actually build internal safety systems that let us relax slowly but surely over time. And we want to stay with this safety and this stability and this softness for long enough to be able to like stabilize under the blanket, under the duvet, in our little safety zone. We want to actually make it safe. Even though it feels safe, it isn't actually safe if we're hypervigilant and we're bracing and we're like looking around waiting for something bad to happen. Because when we're in these freeze states, like a brace, like a shutdown, it feels like our body is failing us. It feels like our body is failing us, but it's actually a really intelligent, soft and gentle way that our bodies are trying to protect us. So it's really intelligent. Our bodies are very, very wise, but it does feel like we're failing. Because we're just scrolling on our phones, we're too overwhelmed, we're shut down, we don't have the capacity for anything, we're not texting anyone, but actually our bodies are trying to protect us. That's what's actually happening. That's why we're stepping back and we're going under the blankie and we're like, no, don't have the capacity for this, no, under the blankie. But the body is, even though it feels like we're failing, the body is actually reacting appropriately to too much stimulation, too much bad news, too much overwhelming content, too much stressful realities, too much stressful stimulus coming in or whatever. We're reacting appropriately to too much and we don't have the capacity for it. So that's what the body is trying to do. And when we're scrolling and we're avoiding and we're like numbing, it's actually our body's way of like conserving energy. Because when we're bracing because we're waiting for something terrible to happen. We're waiting for something awful to happen and we're going to either need to fight or flight. So what do we do? What do we need if we're running away or if we need to fight someone? We need energy. We need energy. So when your body is pulling you under the covers, when your body is numbing you out so that you're scrolling, it feels like we're failing and it feels like we're useless and it feels like we're just not functioning very well at all. But actually the body is trying to conserve energy so that when the big thing happens, when this giant catastrophe happens that's just around the corner, that's why we're bracing, when that happens, we have enough energy to fight or flight. That's basically what's happening a lot of the times, not all the times, but that's what is happening when we are shut down and frozen. So we want to start slowly unclenching in this brace position, even though we're under the blankie and it feels like we're safe. If we're really tight, we're tightly wound, then we're not actually relaxing, we're not actually resting, we're not actually, that rest is not productive. If our whole body is tense, if we're clenching our jaw, if we're filled with anxiety, if we're filled with shame, and if we're filled with all this like physical tension in our bodies, in between our eyes, in our temples, in our jaws, clenching our teeth, shoulders up, really, tummy problems, the whole thing, we're not actually resting at all, and we're not going to feel better from taking time off, scrolling or whatever. We're not actually going to feel better. We're just going to feel like shit. We're going to feel way more tired because no part of us is actually resting. So what we want to do is to unclench, to slowly unclench, even if it's just for 5 minutes every day, even from underneath the blankie or underneath the metaphorical blankie of your safety zone, of your scroll zone on your bed, whatever it is, wherever it is that you go to hide, wherever it is that you go to take time off, wherever it is that you're going to freeze or shut down, if that's in your room, if that's in your house, whatever, wherever you are, to just do 5 minutes of intentional unclenching of the entire body from head to toe or from the bottom up. You can start from your feet, and to physically let everything relax. Bring in a gentle movement into your body. Bring in a gentle sway on your head, on your neck, unclench your jaw, give yourself a jaw massage. I'm going to show you actually something that I saw that makes my jaw feel so much better. I never used to get tension in my jaw before until about a year ago. I think my guts hold about 99% of the tension in my body. And I think they finally reached capacity, and then it like started going up into my jaw. But this is what where will I put my microphone? Okay, maybe I can just put my microphone down for like 2 seconds, but I'll speak loud so you can hear me, okay? Hopefully, yeah, you can still hear me. Okay. So we're going to get our jaws, our fists like this. And this middle knuckle here that you can see, that middle knuckle, we're going to push that into our jaw. And then your elbows, you can do this on your bed. You can do this on your desk. Let your elbows rest on your legs. I can put my microphone here. Let your elbows rest on your legs or on your desk or wherever. And these middle knuckles, push them into the jaw. All here, like where you would put your contour, basically. So underneath here, you're going to push your middle knuckles into your jaw and just mush them around. Mush, all 4 of your knuckles, massaging into your jaw on both sides. So now what you're going to do is find a position and then let your face sink down and try and imagine your jaw is like a stick of butter and it's melting into your knuckles. And you can put a bit of pressure on here. You don't have to just like let your hands flop there. You can actually push your hands in towards your jaw. You can keep mushing them around if you want to. And you can let your face fall towards the floor, fall towards your legs. And let your face melt, let your jaw melt. And stay here for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. And then that immediately feels better for me. That immediately makes my jaw feel better. So there are unclenching exercises that you can do, not just with your jaw, but like with your entire body, to actually physically unclench. And my jaw feels so much better after that. And I don't even feel like, I know I think I am actually kind of anxious today, but anyway, definitely feels better. But there are exercises, and if anyone's interested, maybe I'll post a video for like a full unfurling, unclenching somatic routine if anyone is interested. Or maybe we can do that in the group. Maybe we can do a whole like program of unclenching. I'm just getting ideas as I talk. None of this is set in stone, but let me know what you guys think. Or you can email me girlbonespodcast@gmail.com if you have any ideas, or if you're interested in joining the group. Give me motivation to get working again, because somatics are so powerful, and I believe like more than ever we need somatics. My jaw feels so much better. I feel so much more relaxed after that. But usually I would stay for a little bit longer doing my jaw. I would do it on my bed with my legs crisscross applesauce, and my elbows kind of resting on the inside of my knees, and then my face just like melting down. And I did that with my friend, and I think she started crying, or I told her to do it over the phone. I think she either started crying or she had like a really big emotional release. But anyway, when you are in this safety, under the blankie, under your metaphorical blankie where you're hiding and you're avoiding and you're numbing, unclench just for 5 minutes a day. For 5 minutes a day, roll your shoulders, let your shoulders melt away from your ears. Try and soften up your spine, soften up your belly, breathe deeper into your belly. Take longer to exhale, take longer to inhale. Just give yourself time and let yourself know that there's no rush, there's no urgency. You're not in trouble. You're not in trouble. Everything's fine. And let yourself unclench, let yourself unwind completely, physically. And understand that our capacity grows in micro doses of softness. So even this 5 minutes of softness, this 5 minutes of intentional unclenching a day, these micro doses of these tiny 5-minute moments will help us to gradually, slowly over time increase our capacity, because we're telling our body that it's safe. We're telling our body that it's safe and that it can soften and that it can relax. There's no big bad wolf coming to eat us. There's no monster hiding under the bed that's coming to jump out on us. There's like, we are safe. And actually like physically orienting to the room, physically orienting and noticing all of the stuff, all of our books, my makeup, my perfume, my hairbrush, my computer, my camera, just noticing all of the things, my furry coat, everything in this room that belongs to me, everything in this room that like anchors me, my plant, the lamp, my bed, whatever, orienting to all of the things that we can see that anchor us into ourselves, if that makes sense. So like, I'm in this room and I'm safe. I'm in this room right now and I'm safe. I'm in my room surrounded by my things and I'm completely safe right now. And just even just doing that for 20 seconds, for a minute, and then the unclenching, and then remembering that our capacity grows in these little moments of safety and these tiny moments, microdosing softness. So it would be completely pointless if we were feeling this way and we wanted to put a lot of pressure on ourselves to, I need to care about everything, all these causes, all these issues. I need to text all my friends and be really social and be really productive and go to the gym and be really creative and write my book and like build muscle and post on Instagram and blah, and I need to do all these things and hand in all my work and work on my side project and do all these things. It's just too much to be like, I need to do all of this right now. That is pointless and it's completely unsustainable, especially if someone is in a shutdown, in a freeze, in a brace. It's completely pointless to be like, here is loads of pressure. Here you go. Why don't you do all of these things immediately today? Actually, it's a recipe for disaster. And maybe we could do it for a day, maybe we could do it for a week, but it's completely unsustainable. And it has to be done gradually. We increase our capacity gradually over time, one step at a time, really slowly, but surely. That is the recipe for success. Slowly, softly, but surely. You know that thing, ASAP, as soon as possible. Change that to as soft as possible, as slow as possible. Like, give yourself permission to move like a snail. How slow can you go? Honestly, that's why I really like taking baths. I was talking to my friend about this yesterday. I was talking to my friend Danny about this yesterday. And showers just like, I know, I understand to have a shower, you know, it's quick, in and out, you know, get in, get out. And I do that at the gym. And sometimes if I don't need to wash my hair, I'll just like jump in and out of a shower and it's fine. Like, everything that needs to be washed gets washed. But there's just something so nice about a bath that, and I know it's bad for the environment, it wastes loads of water, I know, whatever. But at the same time, let me have a bath. But I just like a bath because it's like, take your time. Take your time. Showers just feel a bit frantic. And I don't know if it's because the water's like coming down really fast and you're like, I need to get, I've never really had like a really slow shower. Maybe it's because my water tank isn't big enough. I don't know. But the water just gets cold too quickly. But with the bath, it's like, light your candles, read your book, put in your hair mask, wait 5 minutes with your hair mask, take your time, like ASAP, as slow as possible, as soft as possible. And I think like baths are the perfect embodiment of take your time. So if you can imagine that you are like a circle, an orb, and all of the things that you all of the parts of your life, all of the things that you care about, all of the things that you want to devote time to, or even all of the pressures of life, like work or whatever, are all surrounding you. But you only have a certain amount of space. And not everything can fit in. Not everything can fit into that. And it's not supposed to. And what can happen is when everything is trying to get in and everything is trying to get into our capacity and take time and energy away from us, and we just don't have the bandwidth for it, we just don't have the space for it at all, what can happen is the walls of our capacity, the walls of our window of tolerance, the walls of protection around us can get really thick because we're feeling all the pressure, we're feeling all the overwhelm, and we just don't have the capacity for it. So our walls might get really thick because we're trying to keep it all out. We're trying to keep it all out because there's no room. I can't let anything else in. I can't possibly care about anything else. I can't possibly increase my capacity right now. Just fuck off and leave me alone. And our walls get really thick. That is really normal as well. We're just trying to keep everything away. And again, it doesn't mean that we're failing. It doesn't mean that we're useless. It doesn't mean that we're doing anything wrong. It actually just means that our bodies are working really well at protecting us from too much. Too much. But what we want to try and do to increase our capacity is, again, those walls will start to melt away. Those walls will start to thin. Those walls will start to come back to a normal, manageable like thickness when we look after ourselves, when we unclench, when we increase our capacity, when we increase our safety, and when we let ourselves be soft instead of bracing all the time. And what we want to try and do is to pendulate from our safety out into the world and then come back into safety, out into the world and then come back into safety. So say the safety is our bed, the safety is our room, the safety is our reading our books, taking a bath, whatever our safety is, or even if it's hiding under the blanket, whatever it is, whatever your safety is, there's no right or wrong answer. But whatever the safety is, we need to balance looking after ourselves, taking care of ourselves, and also having the capacity to like meet up with other people, care about causes, go to protests, go to the cinema, have fun, like laugh and enjoy life as well, instead of just constantly feeling like we need to hide, so it's this pendulating between being with ourselves, caring about ourselves, and then putting that out into the world, and then coming back, and then going to the cinema, and then coming back, and then texting our friends back, and then coming back. It's just like gentle wave. We don't want to stay here just covering ourselves under the blanket and not having any energy to go see our friends or to play with our children or to go to the cinema or to care about anything. We want to have the both. I'm minding myself so that I can be happy, so that I can be regulated, so that I can be nourished and safe. And I also want to care about someone else. I also want to see my friends. I also want to go and live my life. I don't want to hide under the blanket forever. One thing I will say about caring about causes and paying attention to what's going on in the world, endlessly scrolling and endlessly being plugged in and endlessly flooding your nervous system with all of this dread and chaos and heartbreak that is that's what's happening. It isn't beneficial for anyone to constantly be in a state of absolute dread and to the point where it completely shuts you down and you can't do anything about it. I did that in 2023 when Israel started their current onslaught of the Palestinian people. I definitely overwhelmed myself and I felt like I needed to pay attention all the time and I needed to be plugged in 24/7, and I completely overwhelmed my systems. I wasn't looking after myself properly, and also it was essentially useless. And what I started to do, and again, it's like I'm looking after myself so that I can look after you. I'm looking after myself so that I have the capacity to also care about you. I'm looking after myself so that I can pour some of this into you and so that I can care about you, so that I can pay attention to what's happening to you, so that I can offer any assistance to you. This like flow. It can't be all this and it can't be all this. Okay. So I felt that imbalance in 2023 going into 2024, and I will say that one meaningful act is better than spending 6 or 7 hours or even 2 or 3 hours doom scrolling but then just feeling hopeless. So one meaningful act could be, I'm going to donate €20 or $20 to a Palestinian's GoFundMe. That's what I can do instead of doom scrolling for 5 hours and feeling completely hopeless and then needing to get under my blanket. So one action is probably more beneficial to you and to people who need it than spending the whole day frozen and spending the whole day completely overwhelmed, completely shut down. For whatever the cause is, I'm just talking about the Palestinians because obviously that's who I'm donating my money to. And I have found that actually, I'm still obviously paying attention and I'm still seeing everything that's going on, but I'm not constantly plugged in. I am not constantly exposed to it in the same way that I was when it first started going on, and for the first year when I was like completely locked into it, and that was essentially useless. It feels better for me now to have allocated slots of time where I will pay attention. I don't need to know the news immediately as it first comes out. The news is going to happen. Whatever is happening is happening, and I can't control it. And it doesn't make a difference if I see the news the minute the story breaks or if I see the news a few hours later when I have the capacity to look. Do you know what I'm saying? So it has to be a balance between looking after ourselves so that we can also look after other people, looking after ourselves so that we have the capacity to care about all of these tragedies and awful stuff that's going on the planet. And how do we find that balance? It's going to look different for everyone, but I would suggest for anyone who is completely overwhelmed and completely frozen, but who does really care about everything that's going on, do one meaningful action instead of forcing yourself to be constantly exposed and then frozen. So whatever the thing is, whether it's the Palestinians, whether you want to help the people who are in ICE detention centers, do one thing an action that feels like you're doing something, and give yourself permission to take a step back while you build your internal safety system. Say once a week, I'm going to donate money. Once a week, I'm going to call my representatives. Once a week, I'm going to share things on my stories. Once a week, I'm going to sign petitions. I'm going to do something, whatever. Once a month, I'm going to a protest, whatever. Do an action, one doable action that would mean more than hours and hours and hours and hours of scrolling. Does that make sense? And then you can increase your capacity then, slowly increase your capacity to pay more attention if you want to, or if that feels good, if that feels doable. But also knowing that paying attention and being immediately informed about everything as it first happens, it's still happening anyway. So you don't have to look at your phone first thing in the morning. Whatever news, I haven't checked anything on my phone. I don't know what is going on. I don't know anything about the news today because I have not checked Instagram. I have not logged on. I haven't seen anything, and it's 3 p.m. I can log on later. Sorry, I had to go collect my son and be a mom, but he's gone off with his friends now, so I'm back. But anyway, what I was saying was it's now 4 p.m. and I have not checked my phone. I don't know what's happening on the news. I don't know anything about the Epstein files today. I haven't seen anything. I haven't taken any information in regarding the world, regarding politics, regarding what's happening online. I haven't taken anything in. I've woken up, I fed myself, I've been to the gym, I came back and I fed myself again, and I started recording, and then my son came home from school, and I'm firmly rooted in my world here for now. And when I go online later, or maybe after I record this, I'll have a little check-in online and see what's going on, catch up on the news. The news will be there for you when you're ready to meet it. Knowing the news immediately as it comes out does not change the news. It does not change the news. I think it's really important to be informed. I think it's really important to have opinions. I think it's really important to let ourselves build up our capacity to be uncomfortable, to be dysregulated, so that we can do something, and not to just let ourselves burrow and run away from anything that feels uncomfortable or that feels inconvenient or dysregulating, because everything that's happening on earth right now is massively dysregulating. And if I was an evil billionaire overlord, if I was a crazy colonial baby eating billionaire who ran the world, what I would love would be a population of people who were too overwhelmed to even look at the news, and too overwhelmed with hopelessness and fear to try and do anything about my rule. That would be exactly what I wanted. I would also love I would also love people who are interested in spirituality and enlightenment to protect their peace, so that they didn't get involved with the news, so that they just stayed focused on themselves and dreaming into a new world, while also not doing anything to change this current world. If I was an evil billionaire overlord, I would love those things. Yes, please. Keep doing nothing. That's right. Think about yourself. Protect your peace by all means. So I'm just saying. So usually what happens is, when we do start to feel really overwhelmed and dysregulated, and we do start to shift into a shutdown, overwhelm free state, usually, and we don't have the capacity, our capacity starts to shrink. Usually what goes first is socializing and friendship, because we have to go to work. Like, we have to go to work. We have to pay our bills. There's no way that we can't do that. We have to do that. But we don't have to socialize. We don't have to make plans with our friends. We don't have to text people back. But if we don't show up to work, we'll get fired, and then we won't be able to pay rent, and we won't be able to eat food and all the kind of stuff. So there's certain things that we can cut out or do less of, and there's certain things that just there's no choice. We have to do them. We have to pay bills, we have to eat, we have to go to work, and so on and so forth. But usually, not always, but sometimes socializing is one of the first things to go, because it isn't necessarily something that we absolutely need. We do need it. We absolutely do need it. We do need laughter. We do need connection. We do need fun. We do need to be nourished by our connections, by our friendships, by socializing. We do actually need that, psychologically, socially. Like, we actually do need that. But in terms, when our capacity starts to shrink, it's one of the first things that goes. It can start to feel more like a task or a chore than actually an opportunity for connection and nourishment and laughter and joy. So from a somatic perspective, socializing with like safe people, socializing with our besties, socializing with really lovely people, and safe connection and low stake pleasure and nourishment is what helps us to expand our capacity. So what is low stake pleasure? So getting pleasure from something that isn't very high risk. So for example, if you want to go out and take loads of cocaine and have sex with strangers, and if that feels pleasurable for you, like, by all means, go for it. I'm not going to advise anyone to do that, but if that works for you, go for it. That could potentially be high risk though. You are risking your health, you're risking your body, you are potentially going to feel some shame around those decisions. But low stakes pleasure would be to find pleasure and to let ourselves feel pleasure from things that are not high risk. Do you know what I mean? So reading a book, taking a bath, but also like expanding that outwards to friendships, going for a meal with friends. What are the risks involved with going for a meal with friends? Hardly any. What are the risks involved with going for a walk with our bestie? Hardly any. What are the risks involved with sending our bestie a voice note? Hardly any. So it's like these low stake pleasure bubbles that we allow ourselves to feel deeply into, and allow ourselves to begin to feel pleasure from these, and to allow ourselves to use these moments of connection as opportunities for healing, opportunities for laughter, opportunities for fun, opportunities for like soul nourishment, instead of seeing them as tasks or chores. Now, it does depend on who you're hanging out. Sometimes hanging out with people is a task. Depends on who you're hanging out. Some people are a chore to talk to and are a chore to hang out with. So again, it's like that. If we don't have, that's a whole other podcast. That's a whole other video that I could make about making friends in your 20s, making friends in your 30s. I'm 34 and my friendships look completely different to so many other people's friendships, and that's completely fine. But yeah, if we don't have a bubble of safety of really good friends around us that do feel nourishing, where would we find people like that? One of my best friends, actually, she is not in the same country as me, and lately she's been going to loads of classes. So she's been going to aerial silks, she went to a Tai Chi class, she has gone to a meeting where they were talking about where the woman who was speaking had been volunteering in the West Bank. She recently went to a talk about Andrea Gibson and Andrea Gibson's documentary after her death, and it was all about grief and love and everything. And who do you think you're going to meet at these places? Like, you're going to meet people that are probably very aligned with your values and your way of thinking. So if we don't have a close bubble friendships, and we don't have people who we can go for walks with, and we don't have people who do feel nourishing for our soul, then where would we meet those people? And again, this isn't a podcast about this isn't a podcast about how to make friends or whatever, but I just wanted to shout out my friend Danny for putting herself out there and for welcoming all these experiences and opening herself up to the possibility of meeting new people and meeting new friends who would be very nourishing and very safe connections and very low stake pleasure, to start to teach ourselves, no, it's really actually nourishing. I feel really good after I hang out with people. I'm excited to go see my friends. I'm excited to talk to this person. I'm excited to send them a voice note. I'm excited to hear their voice note. I'm excited to go for a coffee, go for a walk. So our capacity grows, our capacity to talk to our friends, to take on more work, to care about other causes, to reply to our friends, to get our work done on time, to read our favorite books. Our capacity for all of these things that are external to us, that are trying to have a piece of the pie. So our capacity grows slowly over time, softly over time, with safety over time, ASAP, as slow as possible, as safe as possible. And it grows through doing small, bite-sized, doable, digestible actions all every day, even 5 minutes a day, the unclenching, the safety, the softening, just tiny, small, doable, bite-sized, digestible doses of feeling alive and breathing into our aliveness and breathing into the softness and melting into the softness and melting into the safety, and then repeating those actions over time. We're not going to immediately become a whole new person in 24 hours. We're not going to immediately be a whole new person in a week, but slowly over time, as we build this internal safety, as we build this internal stability, and slowly start to expand that outwards, come back to our safety, expand it outwards, come back to our safety, expand it outwards. Let ourselves be nourished by our friendships. Let ourselves be nourished by taking a bath. Let ourselves be nourished by unclenching. Let ourselves be nourished by connecting with nature. Let ourselves be nourished by talking to our friend on the phone. Let ourselves be nourished by reading a new book. Let ourselves be nourished by drinking a cup of tea, whatever it is, it can be everything. It can be none of these things that I've mentioned. It can be all of them. It can be so much more. Repeating over and over and over again, stabilizing where we are before we even begin to expand out. Also reframing these shameful thoughts of I should be more productive, I feel like such a piece of shit, I feel so useless. Reframing that instead of I need to be more productive, I need to be more disciplined, I need to talk to my friends more, I need to be a better friend, I need to do more, I need to go to the gym, I need to do this, I'm not doing all of this and I'm so bad. Reframing that as I need more safety, I need more softness, I need less internal pressure. So reframing that every time we have these shame-filled thoughts coming into our head, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. I need more stability. I need less internal pressure. I need more softness. So just literally put a plaster over that, whatever the old thought was, reframe it from a shame-based thought into a soft, heart-focused, heart-led thought. So our capacity, as I've said, comes back slowly over time. It's not going to come back overnight. We're not going to listen to this podcast or do one somatic practice and then all of a sudden have all of this capacity to take on everything that we wish that we could. And we're never going to be able to take on everything that we wish that we could, but we come back to safety and then we go see our friends. We come back to safety and then we donate to the Palestinians. We come back to safety and then we work on our side project. We come back to safety and then we read our book. We come back to safety and then we go to a concert and then we come back to safety. Do you see what I mean? We can't take on everything, all of these things all at once, but we can dip over there, come back to ourselves, dip over there, then come back to ourselves, dip up here and then come back to ourselves. And then we're slowly telling our bodies that we're safe, because we always have this safe place to land under the blankie, softly under the blankie, hopefully, but we always have this internal place to come back home to. So another thing that happens is when we're bracing, when we are in that freeze state, that overwhelm state, the body can't fully let itself be curious. We can't fully, that energy of brace, or that nervous system freeze response, any sort of nervous system response, is not going to be creative. We're not going to be sexual very much. We're not going to have much desire. We're not going to have the capacity to care about a lot of stuff. We're not going to have very much energy. We're not going to be very curious about ourselves or about the world. And we're not going to have much motivation to do very much at all, because we're bracing. All of our energy is going on either bracing and being hypervigilant, or conserving our energy and flopping and shutting down. So when we start to increase our capacity and we start to increase our internal safety and our internal stability, our curiosity comes back. The things that we care about, our passions, that all starts to come back as well. Our creativity comes back, our motivation comes back, our desire comes back, and our energy levels start to go up again, because the body is no longer bracing. The body is no longer frozen. We're no longer overwhelmed, shut down, and waiting for something terrible to happen. Does that make sense? Okay, so that was the question that I wanted to answer today. That I think this is something that a lot of people are struggling with. How do we look after ourselves while we're watching the world completely on fire? How do we look after ourselves and also care about everything that's going on? How do we look after ourselves and also have time to see our friends, and also have time to be a good friend and be a good sister and be a good villager? How can we do everything? How can we spin all these plates? How can we possibly give everything equal attention? And the answer is, we do our best, and we go as slow as possible, as soft as possible, and we try and reframe. We try and stabilize where we are before we expand our capacity for anything. We pendulate from our safety out, back to our safety, and then out, and then back to our safety, and then out again. And we do things slowly. Just go for a walk with friends. Try and see friendship connections as nourishment, as opportunities for connection, opportunities for decompression, opportunities for attunement, instead of tasks or chores. And again, reframing those shameful thoughts, I should be more productive, I should be doing this, into I need more stability, I need more softness, I need less internal pressure. Okay, so those are some of my tips and tricks for how we can look after ourselves and how we can mind ourselves with all of the overwhelming stuff going on the earth, because it is serious out there. There's a lot of shit out there. And just a reminder that it's designed. What they're doing, like, it's particularly America and Israel, like what they're doing, what the governments are doing, is it's supposed to make us feel this way. We're supposed to be frozen. We're supposed to be shut down. We're supposed to feel hopeless. And yeah, I think it's like the biggest fuck you to the patriarchy, and it's the biggest fuck you to colonialism, to capitalism, to all the evilness, all the evil that we see on earth. I think it's the biggest fuck you ever to not give up, and to care about ourselves, and to care about the earth, and to care about nature, and to spend time in nature, and to regulate with nature, and to laugh with our friends, as well as caring about everything, as well as screaming and crying and being heartbroken and devastated, because that's appropriate too. I remember watching a TikTok of this guy, and he was talking about the AIDS epidemic, and he was an older gay man, and he lived through the AIDS epidemic, and he said that so many of his friends died. And he said what they used to do was, in the morning, they would attend someone's funeral and they would cry. In the afternoon, they would be surrounded by each other, like support systems. They would organize protests. They would help people. They would advocate for people. They were raising money. they were signing petitions, they were like actively doing something. And then in the evening, at the nighttime, they would all drink and take drugs and party and dance. And he was like, don't forget to dance. Do not forget to dance. This man who lived through the AIDS epidemic was like, yes, you need to cry, you need to be heartbroken. Yes, you need to be angry. You need to go and change the world with your anger. Use your anger, use your heartbreak to mobilize yourself and do something. Do something, and then let yourself but don't forget to dance. Do not forget to dance. So whatever your dancing is, it doesn't have to be going out and taking drugs and dancing. Like it doesn't have to be that. But like whatever your dancing is, don't forget to dance. So I will leave you there, and I will see you on the next episode. So if you want me to answer your question, you can email girlbonespodcast@gmail.com, and I will see you on the next one.